Recording in progress.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rachel Hanks, and I am the chair of the Education and Outreach Committee for the Women in Mining Arizona chapter. First, we'd like to say welcome and thank you for joining us today. We will have time at the end for questions, so please put those in the chat. Before we get started, we wanted to give a brief introduction to our organization and why we host these talks. The Women in Mining Arizona chapter, or WIM Arizona, is a nonprofit organization with 5 objectives, one of which is to educate our members and the public on technology, economic, regulatory, and other mining-related topics. These monthly DigIN webinars are part of our efforts to meet this commitment. If you have any ideas or topics that you are interested in learning about or are willing to speak on, please reach out to us. We are always looking for new ways to educate others. Next, we'd like to invite members to come volunteer with our Education and Outreach Committee. If you're looking to get involved and get back to our communities, we'd like to invite anyone to come and join our committee. We meet monthly, and please see the email address to learn more. We'd like to give thank you to our sponsors. Our Women in Mining Arizona founding sponsors Freeport McMoran and our diamond sponsor South 32. We're able to operate at the capacity that we do because of our generous partnerships with these sponsors. Now, it is my great pleasure to hand off to our Women in Mining Arizona Bagdad Ambassador, Kira Bolender. She's going to share some of the exciting things Bagdad Women in Mining have done and introduce our speakers for today.
Thank you, Rachel. So I just wanted to start by talking about Bagdad's Women in Mining chapter. We are a company-sponsored initiative, and we're aimed at providing resources for women that work on our site. We've provided feminine hygiene products and lactation pods and rooms throughout site in the past. And currently, our latest project is to create an information pamphlet for upcoming or incoming members so that they know what resources they have access to. Everyone that is a member of Women in Mining Bagdad is considered a Women in Mining Bagdad ambassador. So we try to keep everyone involved and in the loop. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and share a video to give you a little bit of background on Bagdad.
"100 miles northwest of Phoenix in the rugged and beautiful Arizona desert is Freeport McMoran's Bagdad operations. The first mining claim in Bagdad was staked in 1882. The property was acquired by Freeport McMoran Incorporated in 2007, and FMI retains 100% ownership of that property today. Bagdad began as an underground facility, but in 1945 transitioned to an open pit operation. In 2022, the open pit spanned 1.8 miles and reached a depth of 1,500 feet. Each bench of the open pit measures 50 feet tall and is specially designed and monitored by our geological engineers for long-term stability. Just for context, those trucks you see are 35 feet tall with 11.5-foot tires. FMI Bagdad currently operates a haulage fleet of 37 trucks and 6 shovels. This fleet can haul up to 280,000 tons of mined material each day. Our haul fleet is maintained in a building that was originally part of the Hoover Dam project in Nevada. This structure was built in 1934, and it was purchased by the Cypress Bagdad Copper Corporation in 1974 and moved to Bagdad for $3.5 million. Our maintenance shop operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to keep the fleet in prime operating condition and to ensure material is delivered to our concentrator. Our shovels are too large to fit in that shop, so when they need maintenance, we go to them. The first Bagdad mill began operation in 1928 to process the copper ore mined on site. Today, the milling circuit consists of a primary crusher capable of processing up to 95,000 tons per day, over 6 miles of cross-country conveyor belts, 5 aggregate mills, 5 ball mills, and is operated and maintained by over 250 mill employees. Our tailings facility is home to the tallest natural earth dam in North America at just over 800 feet tall. The upper dam is currently 300 feet tall, using 100 cyclones that filter material to create the embankment. Our tailings management system and stewardship program is recognized by external experts to be an example of best practice. Bagdad is home to the world's first commercial-scale concentrate leach processing facility, what we call the CLP. Our CLP is responsible for processing molybdenum concentrate from sites all across the world. Molybdenum is used in multiple industries, including processing, medical and chemical fields, for improving the strength of steel and providing fertilizer in the agricultural business to help with the growth of moly-deficient crops like cauliflower. Our SXEW plant, that's short for Solution Extraction and Electrowinning, was commissioned in November of 1970 and is currently the oldest known continuous operational SXEW in the world. It has produced more than 1 billion pounds of 99.999% pure copper cathode.
All right, thank you all. Next, I would like to introduce Nicole Amiotte and Zach Maughan. They are leading our autonomous haulage system fleet. Nicole, Zach, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and take over from here?
Yep. Let me share my screen. Let me know if you guys can see that okay. All right. Well, my name is Nicole Amiotte, technical superintendent here in Baghdad over the autonomous project.
Yeah, and I'm Zach Maughan. Prior to us implementing our autonomous haulage project, I was the superintendent for mine operations and have since turned over to be the autonomous superintendent, leading the transition on the people side, the training, change management side of things as we move forward on this project.
Yeah, so presenters, Randall was gonna try to make it today, but he had a conflict pop up. So he was on the corporate side of the autonomous project. And then we also had Mark Elliott, who is the project manager over the entire project. But appreciate you guys asking us to come and talk about the autonomous project. I know it's been a very big thing for Arizona and also just mining in the United States to have a fully autonomous haulage fleet. So we're very excited to talk to you guys.
And so I guess I'll start, like we can do this as formal or as informal as everyone would like. So if you got questions as we go.
They can put them in the chat.
You can put them in the chat. All right. So just to start off, when we made the announcement, again, I was the mine operations superintendent. So we announced the project in July of 23 to our workforce. So we started out talking to the mine operations crews, specifically truck drivers, just because they were going to be the ones that were impacted the most. But do know that we, had a couple year investigative period before that, working with other sites, other companies. But we've really partnered with Cat and Empire here in Baghdad in order to make this come to the forefront of the Arizona mining industry. Obviously, we are changing how we do things, and that's aimed to improve our safety. Removing the drivers out of the trucks removes a lot of our hazards out there. All the trucks are outfitted with high precision GPS. And when I say all the trucks, that also includes all of our other support equipment, light vehicles, and every piece of equipment out in the mine now has GPS on it so we can track it. And that is also to allow the autonomous trucks to know where all the other vehicles are. These trucks operate 24/7. So we started what we call our user acceptance testing in February. And then on March 3rd of this year, we started running 24/7. We have seen an increase in our use of availability, which then can lead to higher efficiencies and improved production rates. So we got some other challenges we're working through, but U of A is one of the things that I can say is a bright spot for right now. So just some acronyms that I'll probably use and Nicole will probably use as well. So BOSS, our Baghdad Autonomous Haulage System. Fleet is CAT's dispatch system, so their fleet management system. For the last 20 years or so before this, we used Modular's dispatch, but a year prior, so in April of 24, we transitioned over to Fleet, and then Command is the autonomous portion of that. AMT stands for Autonomous Mining Truck. AOZ, Autonomous Operating Zone. Blue lights they indicate that a truck is in autonomous mode, and then CMD is an acronym for Command. As you can see the picture on the right, all the trucks out in the field, they have these light bars on them that have a red, green, and blue light. So if red and blue are going, that means someone has pushed that what everyone carries on them, which is an A stop. They push a button and the trucks will come to a stop, and those red and blue lights will flash together. If a green light is flashing, that means it's being operated in manual mode, meaning a human's on it. And then if the blue light's operating or on, then it means it's in autonomous mode. And so we also have a rule that out in the field, we don't have any humans in the trucks with the blue lights on. And that just helps us with some other things that we're doing out in the field, such as blocking for blast radiuses and things like that, that if the blue light's flashing, they don't have to check for people inside of the trucks. So again, we saw that the autonomous technology has matured to a point to have confidence in it. So we did an economic standalone evaluation. We do see efficiency gains up to 10% or even more. In some areas, again, 4 is achievable right now. We got some further upside with further analytics. As I mentioned earlier, safety is a huge part of this, and the numbers are wrong, but more than half of our incidents in 2023 in the mine were with truck drivers. So again, finding an engineered solution to remove the human from the risk is what we're working towards. Workforce. So if any of you guys have ever been to Baghdad or seen Baghdad on a map, it's kind of the longest cul-de-sac in the world. It's like 5 miles off a road to a dead end, and you got to turn around and go back out. So we do have some issues with, we're having problems keeping people staying in Baghdad. Also for years, and still, like, we've been looking at expansion opportunities, but if you don't have the opportunity to keep the trucks going that you have, it makes it harder to expand. So that's a huge benefit for us. Hopefully in the near future, we'll get some good news on that. Again, early learning. So kind of to hit on this, the corporate team, Randall and others, they started out looking for opportunities with battery electric vehicles and energy management, trolley assist, different things like that. And really found that autonomy was kind of the stepping stone to get there, in allowing the trucks to drive in the same path every single time. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. Why CAT? So Caterpillar Command is compatible with 133 trucks that Freeport has in its portfolio. So the 793Ds are able to be converted. Freeport doesn't have any F model trucks. We do have 793D, B, and C trucks, but the Ds are the only ones compatible. So again, we got 133 that we were able to convert, which was a huge cost saving over purchasing brand new trucks going with a different system. And then Empire is a fantastic partner. Caterpillar has been great as well. So that's another reason why we chose them. So just to talk about the different layers of security real quick, I'm going to go from the inside out. So Caterpillar's system has these 7 layers of protection. So the first one with the potential hazard is perimeter security. So what we did is we actually locked out the mine. So typically when you go to a mine, a lot of people, you can go with a school and just go for a tour or different things. I could go to one of our other Freeport sites and go out in the pit. Nowadays, we actually have to do training before you can even get through the gate. We have only 2 access points that are automated to get into the mine. And so that's to help keep the right people in there. Next is site procedures. So that ties into all your SOPs. Site awareness, so that's what I was talking about earlier with the GPS on all the other piece of equipment out in the field that allows the autonomous trucks to know where you're going. The office has the ability to stop all AMTs or autonomous trucks at any moment. The trucks have LiDARs and radars on the front of them that can see what's going on in front of them. So that helps. I'd say the system works fantastic, almost too safe at times, where a light vehicle is gonna go in front of a truck and maybe it's a ways out and it gives you a little beep telling you slow down that autonomous truck a little bit. Onboard automatic stop, that relates to anytime it has connection issues in the field, the autonomous trucks will actually come to a stop. So we had a lot of questions a couple of years ago. Freeport had a cyber event that happened. So this is what happens, which we built our system to mitigate those risks. But if ever the system doesn't know where that truck is at specifically, that truck comes to a stop. And then a stop, I mentioned a little bit with the red and blue lights, but every single person that's out in the field by themselves or one per vehicle has an A stop, which if you push a button, any autonomous truck within 300 meters or 1,000 feet of you will come to a stop. And that's kind of your last line of defense. We don't really like to use them, but they are there. We have used them a couple times, but more for rock spills to mitigate trucks driving over rocks. So any questions on the layers of protection or the things I kind of talked about real quick?
I don't have anything quite yet, Zach.
Cool.
All right. And I mean, a big thing is a lot of the mine sites in the US are brownfields, which means they're established mines. And when you think about autonomous, it's a completely different type of mining than we've done before. There's a lot of things that you need to take into account. So one thing that was done when we were looking at this project was really analyzing the existing infrastructure and then what we were going to need. So running that current state versus future state once we're fully autonomous. Zach kind of touched on it, but the network was a really big point for us because those trucks, they need continuous information to and from what we call the heartbeat, which is the system up in the cloud so that we know where the trucks are, the trucks know where everything else is at. But making sure that we had a very secure system there was a really big, important piece for this. And then also looking at what we did here at Bagdad was a zero job loss. And that means that no personnel, no employee from Bagdad was going to lose their job because of this transition. So that was really big for us to spend time kind of looking at how many people this was going to affect and making sure that we were working with them so that they could find a new role here at Bagdad or possibly even transfer to a different site and still drive truck. And then another key piece for this was really getting a detailed implementation plan, which goes over all the different phases of the project. And that, is the installation on the trucks, making sure all the infrastructure is in place, making sure we've got the training, which was a huge piece as well. And then going into the testing. So we had a lot of testing we had to do for the trucks. Just on the Caterpillar side to make sure the system was functioning, but then we also added some extra tests that Bagdad wanted to do with our safety team, and then full commissioning of the system. And then we're where we are today. And so when we look at the project too, the way we did this was we really broke it down into 2 different work streams. So we had Zach, which was really on the people upskilling, zero job loss, training, change management. And then on my side was just the equipment execution, so all the installations, contractor management, infrastructure upgrades, and just making, as they put it when we got here, my job was to get the trucks here, make sure they were working. And then Zach was to make sure that everybody had a role to transfer to and that everybody was trained and ready to run the trucks. So that was the best way. I think this model worked very well. And we did have a lot of support from corporate and then our management here on site as well. But when we look at kind of the different sections of the project, so I've brought up network a few times, but it was really critical to make sure that we had enough coverage. So Freeport is the first site to be running a Ragent mesh network with Caterpillar on their autonomous trucks. So we did go into a field phase follow once we went live. And right now everything is working great. Now we haven't had any problems with the network. So it's important just to make sure that they have that continuous connectivity. And it's not even just for the haul trucks, it's for all the support equipment and light vehicles as well. So if there's any piece of equipment that loses connectivity, it creates what we call a bubble. And then it just slowly keeps expanding and it will start to slow and shut trucks down. So making sure we had the coverage was necessary there. And then also just having standard installs for all the pieces of equipment, and that just makes sure that, you know, we have the configuration set up that we needed to. And then our maintenance team, they know exactly what wires to be looking for and where they should be at, and just making sure that we're streamlining the performance for all of those. And then if we look at the operational technology, which is really just architecture in the background, it was pretty amazing getting involved with RMIS corporate and all of the work that they had to do in the background with setting up the servers. Also making sure that the network was a secure network. So really the best way to describe that is information can go out, but no information can go into into the secure network. So it is not connected to our business network or anything like that. It's standalone, secure. But it was really cool to see how that all came together. And then to get into that network, there takes extra credentials as well that you have to get approved for. So it's been very interesting to watch that all come together, but I think it's working very well right now. And then if we look at the infrastructure considerations that were taken into place, the first picture there is just segregating the equipment. So we did have a road on site where it was actually our personal light vehicles that would cross a haul road to get over to our mill and tailings facility. So we did have to construct a bypass tunnel. And that really just goes back to limiting interaction with the autonomous trucks. So we built that and it's up and running. Jacob Miyachi from our engineering services team led that project, and it was executed very well. And so that has helped with segregating the equipment. And then we built a new building, which I don't know how long it had been since Baghdad had a new office building built, but it was a pretty big deal here at site. So we call it the command center. But what it does is it really houses everybody that supports the digital side of the autonomous trucks. So everybody that is running the trucks is, and I say running, I guess they're building the lanes and roads and kind of routing those trucks in the digital environment. So everybody's in one area. Zach's office is in there, along with our mine coordinator, our CAT site manager. So we're all together and we can resolve issues pretty quickly. But that has definitely helped having everybody in one room. And then Zach kind of talked about the perimeter security. So what I've got a picture of there is our gating system. So Zach mentioned we have 2 automatic gates now. So when you do come to Baghdad, you have to go through the gate at the main security gate just to get on Baghdad property. And then we actually have a second set of gates to access the autonomous zone. We built a pretty robust logic with our MIS partners at corporate, which we're very proud of, but the gates will not open unless you've met certain criteria. And I mean, huge shout out to our MIS team. They at one point said it was going to take up to 10 minutes for the logic to run in the background, but they got that down to a minute. So couldn't be more proud of that team. But again, those gates are really to make sure that people entering the AOZ have the training, know where they're going, and know how to drive in the autonomous environment, because it is a little different to drive around autonomous trucks than man trucks. And then just more like project implementation. We had a massive P6 schedule, with all of the lines tying everything together. We had a project controls manager helping with that. But that was really key to making sure that we were going to be on track. We weren't letting any of the small details kind of fall through and then come back, when we're getting ready to go live. And then the collaboration that we've had with all of the partners, we've talked about Cat and Empire, but Immersive, we also partnered with them too, with the training, which I know Zach will talk about, Radiant for the network. Skanska was the one that built our tunnel for us. And then Extreme Q was where we got the building. So it took a small army to get this project across the finish line, and a lot of really good collaboration with all of those teams. And then with that collaboration piece kind of comes into the communications. So one thing we did is we had a very robust communication plan with all of the stakeholders. Also a site communication plan. So it wasn't like they announced we were going autonomous, then we just didn't talk to site until the trucks were running. So we had a pretty good communications plan, and we were continuously feeding information through a lot of different avenues to our workforce, so that they were staying informed and kind of knew what was upcoming. Then we also had like a steering committee. So that was really the leadership here in Baghdad, and corporate leadership with Freeport and Caterpillar and Empire. And just really, we could bring up any roadblocks or problems that we were having, and they could help us navigate those so that we kept the project on time.
All right. Talk a little bit about the training and job placement parts of the work. So I mentioned before, and Nicole kind of hit on it too. So Caterpillar has 5 golden rules to work with autonomy, and one of the big ones is minimizing interaction. I won't go through all 5 of them, but we have AOZ training just to get into the mine now. You have to have level 2 to drive. Levels 3 are for your support equipment operators, 4 is to run a shovel, and then 5 is to change the truck between autonomous and manual mode. So that's kind of where I'll hit on that. Again, Immersive was a huge help. They were actually able to build our mine site in their simulation so that when people were driving around, it looked like you were driving through Baghdad. So it was really cool to be able to see and learn how to drive in an autonomous environment in Baghdad, not in another mine, and then have to try and apply it to here. New operations roles. So again, we have a new command center. We have a lot of new positions, specifically for autonomy. We have people with MIS. We have what we call our autonomous controllers, which basically their job is to keep the fleet flowing. We have autonomous builders, which their job is to build the digital world from the information in the field and to keep the digital world and the real world the same. And then we have pit technicians, and their job is to survey things in the field and send it to the office so that we can keep those things, again, the same. We basically had to find a new home for around 140 operators outside of the ones staying in mine operations. So we partnered with our other Freeport sites, and some of them are now driving at other Freeport properties. We've moved people to new departments. So some of the things we did, and again, this is kind of where I spent the last couple of years of my life, is finding the next step for all these individuals. But we actually did a job fair where we had all the other departments come, and they showed what their schedule was like. They showed what what day in the life of would be like, what they did day to day. Because a lot of our truck drivers that had been here, whether it was 6 months or 20 years, really had never seen other departments. And so they got to talk to people doing those jobs day in and day out. And after that, we actually set up times where they could go spend a day or a couple days and see what their job looked like in those other departments. I know we had a couple of truck drivers that are now working with Kira in sampling. We have drivers that went to the mill, to our CLP, to mine maintenance. So, we've done a great job. Again, tons of help from specifically our HR team and meeting with people, but we were able to find homes for all the people. Last I checked, everyone that was here before the announcement had a home. There was just a few remaining, but we have a place for them. They just haven't signed their offers yet on what that next step's going to be, because we're still running 7-man trucks right now to get us through the end of the year. So we still need some people in mine operations, and that's why there's a couple of those that are hanging out there that haven't been completed. Again, Baghdad has a 0 job loss initiative due to this project. We are the first large scale mine in the United States to fully convert. We pulled the original project. We weren't supposed to originally be done until like early Q2 of next year. But here we are with 33 trucks running autonomously today. And we've moved over 25 million tons safely, without a single incident with our autonomous fleet. So again, those are the wins. The picture on the left is one of our trainers doing a good job. That's on the light vehicle simulator that he's showing someone how to drive. And then the picture on the right is one of our truck drivers. His name is Barry. He's actually going to be staying with us in mine operations to continue to drive our water trucks after we fully implement the haulage fleet. Because as of right now, haul trucks is the only thing we're converting. So again, Freeport's ongoing focus is setting world-class productivity with our autonomous haulage fleet. We're super focused right now on our efficiency things, because again, like I said, we're running. We're just trying to become more and more efficient every day, and continue upskilling our workforce to technology-driven roles, which again, for some has been really easy and they're doing fantastic. Others, it's taking a little bit longer. Again, if you guys know, you have a truck driver that's been driving for 20 years, that's what they want to do. A lot of our individuals, at least here, are in those roles because they didn't want to talk to people, or, you know, they wanted to provide for their family without having a lot of interaction with others. And now with those going away, those roles have changed, but doing a fantastic job there. And then again, Freeport, specifically Randall and team, are working to evaluate other technologies that complement our autonomous haulage system, collaborating with different OEMs and technology providers to advance our AHS capabilities. This last one, right?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, and that's what we've got for you guys today. You know, like Zach said, it was a very big project for us. I'm extremely proud of the project team. I mean, pulling this forward 6 months, it's kind of crazy when you stop and you think about how much work had to go into it. And even the training portion, I think we had over 800 employees that we had to get through just AOZ 1 training. So it took a small army, and we definitely couldn't have done it without the team, but we're very happy with where we are today.
Great. Thank you so much, Nicole and Zach. Yeah, usually you hear about projects being pushed out, not pulled in, so that's really impressive.
I know. I'm like, wow, this has been like a perfect project on that front.
Yeah, we do have some questions in the chat. So just a reminder to those other folks on there, please, if you do have a question, I think using the chat is probably the easiest at this point. This first question is from Leslie. What is the main difference when driving around a man truck versus an autonomous one? Any response to that?
Okay. Okay.
So the main difference is typically in a staffed environment, the haul truck that's loaded has the right of way. And so you're watching light vehicles stop, wait for the trucks to go by. In an autonomous fleet, one of the pictures early on, I don't know if you can, I'll try and have Nicole go back to it. It's like in the slide number 2 or something. But this one. So if you can see where the blue lanes are, whenever the lane is blue, that means that truck has the permission. So if a human in a pickup is blocking a truck from getting to that point, then that truck won't continue to go. So if a truck wanted to go in front of it because of a turn lane, now you look at permissions versus looking at which truck is loaded. So that's the biggest thing that we've had to talk to our people about. Specifically, it comes in intersections and things like that. But that's by far the biggest thing that we have to do differently.
Yeah, so all the light vehicles have a panel in them, and like Zach said, you gotta be watching the lanes, so it wouldn't necessarily be just basic driving interactions that you would think in a pit, so it does change.
Great, thank you. Nate has another question. So since introducing haul truck automation at the site, what specific impacts have you seen on truck cycle times, average haul speeds, overall production rates? Have you seen any, I'm gonna throw this in there, have you seen any like fuel consumption reductions, anything like that?
So.
Yeah, so I guess, with any autonomous implementation that you're gonna do, like Kat was very upfront with us about what they call the Delta dip. And it's actually a dip in production that you're gonna see for a period of time, depending on how site adapts to the autonomous haulage. And that's really just because site, there's a lot of people that have interactions with the haul trucks driving that are gonna have to drive differently. There are different aspects of it for our shovel operators, our dozer operators out on the dumps. And then you just have the whole technology side inside the control room. So right now, kind of back to one of the last slides we showed, just we're really focused on getting the efficiencies up to where they need to be. But right now, I would say, we've got a little dip, but that was fully expected. So
And I'd also say we're climbing out of the dip.
yeah,
And then touching on like fuel efficiencies, like I haven't looked at the numbers, but we have seen an improvement, because the trucks don't like gear hunt as much as a man truck might. And so there's a lot of opportunity there still. But it's also different because in Baghdad, we have massive fuel bays where we were actually able to fuel all of our trucks during shift change when we had people on them, and now we're not doing it that way. So we've kind of changed the thought process and philosophy with how we're doing that. But everything I've heard from our environmental team is it has improved on specifically just fuel burn numbers.
Great, thanks. And this is a question from anonymously from our Q&A. And it's kind of just piggybacks on that. What metrics are you using to understand, I guess, if the autonomous haul trucks are more efficient than the traditional fleet?
So we have more KPIs and more data now than I ever thought imaginable. So we get data for every single time a truck changes speed. I get so much data, but like if you're looking at a high level, within Freeport, we use Delta C, which is the difference in the planned cycle versus actual cycle. We're looking at our use of availability. We look at our physical availability. Our physical availability was world-class before, and we're like almost back to where that is, and most days we're hitting it. Our U of A is doing a really good job. We're like within the last month, we're beating it almost every day what our old plan was. The Delta C, which is our Delta in cycle, which is caused by all these other interruptions, that's where we still got opportunity. But those are the main KPIs that we look at. But like we can look at anything you can imagine. Like
honestly, that's
too
not
much.
lying. Like, we can get 1 second data from the trucks. Like it's been data overload. It's been a lot of really interesting information though. So our MIS team at corporate has been building Power BI reports and getting it into the Freeport standard of how we manage our data as quickly as we can. And I would say it's not changing every day, but the information that we're utilizing and what it's for is definitely still under development there.
Great, thank you. So this next question is from Diana. How extensive is the autonomous training? How long would it take someone to be qualified to drive a truck?
So autonomous training, if we're talking about like running the command system, all the people in that room went to 4 weeks of training at Caterpillar. So 4 weeks, 5 days a week is what they all go to. I think to drive a truck, just to drive a pickup is about a full day class, because we also do the light vehicle sign off stuff in the same time. In the past, you came onto a mine site. I've worked at 4 different Freeport sites, and you go out and you ride with someone for a couple days, get familiar with the site, you take a written test, you got your driver's license, and they kind of let you go. It's much more thorough now, in the fact of like you're driving around an autonomous truck, and not only how you impact the trucks, but how the trucks are impacted by you and just back and forth. So there's a lot more into it. But just to drive a light vehicle is now about a day per person, and there's a classroom portion and a field portion and a test.
Thank you. And then if you could improve a function or ability for one of the trucks, what would it be?
That's a good one.
Like, is there anything it's not necessarily hitting the mark on that you would want it to?
I'd say there's nothing that I would change that we're not already working with Caterpillar on. So there's things within Caterpillar system that we are working with them to improve, but there's nothing that I'd say that, you know, that we're not working with them on that I'd like to change.
Okay. It looks like we have another question from Angelina. So at the U of A, we are working on and better preparing our students to interact with autonomous technology. Is there anyone at Freeport we can contact in collaboration with and share good practices?
Yeah, it'd probably be me. Myself and Randall will probably be the two. I don't know if Angelina was the one I met at the Minds for Limitless Minds, but I did get a card from one of the professors there. I met a lot of people that day, so I don't remember. I apologize if it was you. But myself here on site and then Randall from our corporate team are probably the two that, you know, will help lead those efforts. We are trying to collaborate with schools and things like that. So obviously Nicole will support wherever, but that's probably a me and Randall thing.
Okay, great. So Angelina can reach right out to you guys. Okay, and then this is actually a really good question from Matt. What are the thoughts of the shovel operators who are loading the autonomous first man trucks? Are they seeing any differences?
So what we heard, before we started, we were able to travel to some of the sites in Canada that were running autonomous, as well as out to Australia and see what they were doing there in order to take those learnings. And what they told us is your best shovel operator in a manned fleet will not be your best shovel operator in an autonomous fleet. And we do have some that are doing fantastic. I'll tell you that they all like it more because the truck backs to the exact same spot every single time. So the shovel operator actually sets the point where the truck backs to. I haven't heard any negatives in a while. Like at the very, very beginning, I'm going to say back in March, April, May timeframe. Yeah, we heard some, you know, complaints, but as we've trained them up, most of the feedback's been very, very positive from the shovel operators.
Okay, and then it looks like we have one more question. So if anyone has anything else, yeah, please last call to put that in the chat before we wrap up. Angelina's back with another question. What are the main challenges you are currently facing with autonomous trucks?
I think it's just us. So I'll say my opinion and then I'll let Nicole say. I think that there's so much within a new system. So within Freeport, we had, let's say 20 years at most of our sites running modular dispatch. And so when we had a question or a concern, we had so many people to reach out to in order to get help. And with Caterpillar's command system or even Caterpillar's fleet system, there's not many people in the US running fleet, and there's no one else running command the way we are. And so the ability to get additional support is, I'd say, the biggest challenge. But it's just because there's so much new stuff to learn. Not that anything wrong, it's just there's so much new things that we are the experts right now with where we're at in the world. And so just finding help is sometimes like, hey, what does this do? And you got to just try it and nope, don't do that one again. Or, hey, let's try that again. So that'd be my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I will say on that front, like Kat has been really good about giving us resources. We've had plenty of people come up from different countries to help us out, but like Zach said, the internal, like asking for help, you know, we are the experts up here. And then I guess on my side, it's just, I would say it's a big learning curve, and I would probably go back to all of the data that we're getting, you know, what data is going to be valuable. Because 1 second data, like we've had our ramp process for a while just with our maintenance. but getting the slow stop information and then taking that and trying to break it down so that the end users actually know how they're going to affect cycle times, and just making the trucks more efficient. But I mean, overall, like, collaboration has been great. It's definitely a new challenge every day. I would say that every week too, something pops up that we haven't seen yet that we have to all put our heads together and try to, figure out a solution.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, with you guys being the first, there's not a lot of people you can kind of lean on. So that is really good. Okay, I think we have one last question. And this is another good one from Diana. Are your autonomous trucks or man trucks using AI yet to improve detection of vehicles, pedestrians, or other potential roadblocks ahead?
So they have a LiDAR and a radar on the front of them, but they don't learn as they go. In the fact of AI, like I think the question's trying to ask, they don't learn more as they go, other than when an autonomous truck is driving, if it loses traction, it will actually drop a point in the digital world. And so the next trucks that go through there will slow down until we have 3 trucks that go through that spot, without, like having a traction event. So I don't think they're learning AI as in kind of the questions asking, but they do give us more information.
Yeah, I mean, with the perception package that they've got on the trucks, one thing we ran into when we were commissioning was the trucks were stopping for tumbleweeds. So, that's one thing, like the perception package, it does pick up very small, but to what Zach said, it doesn't have any machine learning capabilities. But if you're in a vehicle that has the GPS on it, it knows exactly where you're at, how fast you're going, and what possible direction you're going to be going.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was just so interesting. I want to thank Kira as well for organizing, and then Nicole and Zach for coming. We're sorry we missed Randall, but just it was really fantastic to have you with us and very insightful. Yeah, and it's amazing just to see how far the technology has come. So for the folks on the call, if you're interested in joining Women in Mining Arizona and serve on one of our 8 subcommittees, please reach out to us via social. And then we are really excited next month to continue our DigIN series, Mining Innovation in the Copper State. Each month we'll continue to bring you exciting lunch and learn sessions featuring one of our local mining companies, where we will delve into a unique aspect of their operations. So next month is December 9th with Gunnison Copper sharing their Newton heap leach technology. So thanks again and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rachel.